Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and well, I haven't really made the video in a while because if you read my bio or my is it even a bio? My about section in my YouTube channel, it said there that school or college is pretty hectic. And it just ended like yesterday. And yeah, you already read the title. You already know what I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to talk about my online class experience. Now, I want to make one thing clear. This is my experience, not everyone else's experience. Because I know there might be comments that are going to be like, oh, but I didn't experience it this way. Then, yeah, just to make it clear, this is my experience, not everyone else's. Although I will briefly talk about it at the very end of the video. Till then, I will just talk about my experience and how I feel about it. We'll begin with the very start of online classes, which was around March to April. It kind of was a weird transition because everyone was still kind of midway through the sem and it just kind of happened. Obviously, COVID was already such a huge issue back then, but for some unknown reason, our country did not do any kind of travel ban. We just let people in, even though we already were aware of the whole thing. So it started then. Actually, back then we didn't have a lot of cases here yet. It was like 2 or 3, and then for a little bit there wasn't any cases in a day, and then after that it just started going crazy. So around March, I think it was like the second week of March, our school decided to transition to online classes because everyone knew it was like, oh, we can't afford to have a week off or something because we have to study and we have a lot of requirements that we have to pass. And so that happened. We transitioned to online classes, and the expectations were, well, let's just say, very far from reality. When online classes happened, everyone thought that it would just be like a 1 week or maybe even like 2 weeks thing, that after a week or two we'll be back to normal, we'd be able to go back to school. And well, the reality is that did not happen. For those few weeks of us trying to kind of adjust to the new normal, everyone was kind of bored at it. It kind of was already evident that online classes is just not as effective as face-to-face classes, and it was just so boring. Online classes were just not fun, even though the subjects were fun. So what happened after that is that I think around April or mid-April, they decided to just cancel classes until somewhere around early May or late April, I think. And that's what happened. We got like a pretty lengthy short break kind of thing. All requirements were pushed back, and they told us not to do any of the school requirements and to just worry about our own mental states and just relax, basically, because the world is burning. So as I mentioned, we did have a short break, and the reason behind that short break was to kind of regroup everyone, kind of let everything sink in first before we add more stress to a very stressful thing that is already happening outside of school. And I think that was a good move for our school. I know a lot of schools also did that here in the Philippines. So that is a good move for every single school who did that. And yeah, everyone just decided to take a short break, which is, I think, was a good thing. I didn't really do anything during the break. I think I just slept late a lot. Actually, no, I slept very early. In fact, I slept at around 9 a.m. before once. So yeah, that was pretty early. I don't know why I did that, but I did it. I'm stupid. All right, so school came back around, I'm still kind of confused on what day or what month it happened, but it came back around mid-May, I think. And there was like, I think 2 weeks. Oh shit. I think there was like 2 weeks that were given to us to finish every single requirement, but the school's approach was different. So they gave us this pass or fail option, where if you don't want to continue a subject, you can opt for that option, and instead of getting a numerical grade on your report card, you'll get the word pass or fail if you fail the subject, so that you don't have to do the requirements anymore, and basically the sem is over for those two subjects. Two subjects. For those subjects. God, I can't speak today. I did those for like 4 subjects of mine. I think we had maybe 7 or 8 subjects. So the other half, I just decided to finish the requirements for those because I thought they were not easy, but I think the most fun projects to make. In the end, though, I got good grades. I got 4 passing, like the word pass. I got 4 passed subjects, and then I got good grades. Yeah, as I said, I just literally just said that like a few seconds ago. I think my lowest grade was like 2. I did better than expected. Yeah. The only thing about it, and the very interesting thing that I found about online classes, I don't actually know if this is interesting in a good way or interesting in a bad way, but it's definitely in the bad way. But it ended abruptly. So we had this one class, final class, where our teacher is just briefing us and stuff like that. Wait, am I even talking about the right thing? Whatever. The whole point is, it just ended. And when it ended, I remember messaging some of my friends like, that was very weird. It just ended. That's it. That's the SEM. Now, during this time period, I think this was like the very blurry part of 2020. Everyone was so unsure of the future, and everyone was just like very pessimistic at this point, but also optimistic because everyone was thinking of starting online businesses and channels or TikTok channels. Sorry, I don't use TikTok, so I don't know what you call those TikTok profiles or accounts. But yeah, everyone started thinking of doing something with their time, and not everyone's going to do a lot of things unless you work for a company. But also this time was a very hard time for everyone because a lot of people got laid off and lost a lot of their jobs, which was very unfortunate. But yeah, it was a very sad time, let's just say that. It was also around the time where here in the Philippines, it was a very kind of almost like a very dark period of time. It was around the time where the anti-terror bill was about to be passed. I actually am not sure as to what happened to that bill now because it kind of faded after a few months. But it was basically a bill that wanted to take away a person's right of speech or freedom of speech. But I'm not really super educated on the smaller details about it, so I don't have the right to really talk about it now. All I know is that there's something wrong about it. I mean, the intention is good, but let's not go too far into that because that is not the point of the video. So yeah, it ended and it was the start of our summer break. It wasn't really summer anymore in the Philippines, but it was our summer break. So I didn't really do anything during the break. I did pretty much the exact same thing I did during the short break that we had. I remember having a lot of pimples growing out of my face. My face was breaking out basically. I don't know why I really don't know why I slept so late so many times. There was literally no reason for me to do that. But I think it was also around the time where things were starting to ease up. Prior to this, the whole country was on like ECQ, or enhanced community quarantine. So basically, you can't really go out unless it's essential for you to go out. Me, personally, I didn't have anything important outside because my dad was the one who was doing the groceries and stuff. And plus, he wouldn't really let me out anyway, so I just stayed at home. And during this time, I was also talking to some friends, asking them if they were going to enroll for the upcoming online classes. And a lot of them said no, they didn't want to. And I understand why. But for me, at some point, I was like, I don't really care if I enrolled. I'm not the one paying for my tuition fee, so why should I complain? But I understand why people don't want to enroll. And honestly, at some point, right before the new school year started, they sent us like these rundown PDF files of how the tuition fee is going to cost. And oh boy, let me just say something. Those PDFs very much convinced me that online classes ain't worth it. Because first of all, we are using our own internet. Second of all, you're learning on your own. Obviously, it depends on how you want to learn. I know, I get that. And third of all, it's just really not worth it. For the price that you're getting, it's not worth it. I can probably teach myself essential things about my course without paying someone, I guess. I mean, I do see the importance of teachers and stuff like that. Obviously, they are here to help, but why am I so white? I just thought it was too much. And I won't go into detail on how much our tuition fee is, but until now, I'm kind of thinking about it on if it was actually worth it to enroll. Obviously, my mindset changed from now to like then. But around that time, I tried to convince my dad not to enroll because it just didn't feel right to be paying someone for me to learn on my own. And I know a lot of adults say that, oh, it depends on how you learn anyways. It's up to you and how you're going to make the money worth. And in some cases, that is true, but also you're kind of putting pressure on the students to kind of make your money's worth, which is basically added pressure to each and every single individual out there, which is something that we don't need, especially when the world is burning and when there is about to be a new SEM or a new school year, which will definitely add even more pressure. But yeah, soon I realized that maybe it was just my privileged ass worrying about it, about not going to school. Because I mean, I can afford to go to school, definitely. Even though I'm not the one paying for it, I can afford to since my dad is willing to pay for it. And there is a lot of students here in the Philippines who want to enroll but can't afford to because they don't have the financial support that a lot of people do, which is very unfortunate. And you see in the news articles where a lot of students even do like side jobs now just to be able to pay for their tuition fees. And another huge problem was that not a lot of those students have gadgets that they can use to or for online classes. So I personally think that our country was never ready for online classes, even after a few months of maybe preparing every single one for this whole new normal thing that everyone has been talking about. That's why I didn't really want to go through online classes, but I was like, yeah, maybe I should give it a chance. Why not? If I hated it, then a lot of parents would be mad, I guess, and force their children not to enroll anymore. I just thought of the other side of the spectrum where if I wasn't this fortunate, would I still be happy that I won't be able to go to school? So I tried to put myself in a position of someone who doesn't have the right amount of financial security and what is the word for that? Doesn't have the right equipment for online classes. And yeah, I just felt ungrateful about myself. I just decided to look on the brighter side of things, that I can still be able to learn and not get left behind. All right, so August to October, this is the first sem of the new school year for us, and the school's approach was again different. Instead of having 2 sems per school year, they decided to cut up the 2 sems into 4 quarters instead, which led to a, I guess, lighter school load or a lighter load. Instead of having like 6, I think it was 6 subjects. Instead of having 6 subjects in 1 sem, the school decided to have 3 subjects per quarter. Now, did it really help? Yeah, I could say that doing that definitely lightened the load, although it became more evident that online classes is really just a lot harder than face-to-face classes, which I think is kind of weird because if you think about it, you don't have to go outside. You don't even have to take a shower or dress up to go outside, which are like extra efforts to just go to school. And pretty much everything is in front of you. But why does it feel like online classes are like a lot more tiring than the face-to-face classes, which is, I applaud the school's approach for at least trying to ease up our workloads, and that's something that I'm very thankful for. But yeah, the money's still not worth it. So the first sem ended, and it went very fast. It was like 9 weeks of learning, and I thought 9 weeks was a very long period of time, but when I realized that I don't really have to attend classes, since a lot of online classes are like optional to attend, so I didn't really attend the majority of classes for that one subject, and I had a lot of free time on my side, hence why I was able to upload as much as I can before. It just ended the same way the previous sem ended, and this ant, I killed an ant, and it just felt like nothing, honestly. It almost feels like nothing happened. It was like, oh, that's it, all right. Although I think that one subject benefited from the online class thing because in our 3D animation class, our prof gives us like video tutorials where you can basically just rewind or fast forward if you forgot or already learned something so that you don't have to waste your time or make your times worse, basically. But the more I think about it, it's like we're really paying this much for videos, and it makes you think what could have been done. But yeah, it's already over. Like, I can't really do anything about it. All I can say is that some of our profs are very considerate. Actually, no, most of them are very considerate. But prior to this sem, the sem before, there was a lot of profs that were not being very considerate. They were just like, oh, you got a lot more time in your hands. Might as well do this since you don't have anything to do, right? And that really pissed off a lot of us because... But yeah, that's the end of the first quarter. It was very forgettable because it went by so fast. All right, so this is the second quarter, which literally just ended. This quarter is definitely the stress is an understatement. A stressful quarter. That is an understatement for this quarter. Everyone just, oh my god, all right, where should I even begin? Okay, so the expectations for this class, or for this quarter rather, we just expected that this quarter would be more or less similar to the previous one, where we can just afford not to attend some classes and where we can't afford to attend some classes and stuff like that. But no, apparently this quarter was a quarter where you cannot afford to miss any classes. Although there was this one class which I think was the best class because it was just fun. We literally played games. We literally played games throughout the entire quarter and even got to make our own game concepts, which was really fun. And I think it was hugely because of our prof, and he made it fun for us. So yeah, it's just unfortunate that his class was the only class that was really affordable to miss. And we thank him for that, honestly. And so there were these two classes that were very stressful. And why was it stressful? I think the huge part on why it is stressful is because it was more or less a group class, or a group work based class. Group works are already hard enough to do in person, so doing it online, it just God. But we all made it work in the end, which I'm very surprised that we did, and we did it well. Like, we really did it well. Even our profs were like amazed on how we all did, and that's something to be proud of, I think. Although it was a very stressful sem, we did our best to feel good enough about ourselves. So I think everyone felt satisfied at the end of it, and everyone just felt happy that it was over. All right, so I think face-to-face classes are still better. I know I've been seeing a lot of memes lately where there's this like quote or like a phrase that says, I miss face-to-face classes, but then it shows you a photo of you in face-to-face classes where you're just sleeping or doing anything but learn, which I think is funny. But jokes aside, face-to-face classes, I think, are still the better way of handling education and learning because it's more immersive. I don't know, it's just more fun, and you get to really see and work in an environment where people are working. That's another huge issue that online classes need to somehow fix, because people are just really in their own houses or their own homes, and usually everyone's in their bedroom, and a bedroom is not really associated with working a lot unless you have to. I don't know if that's the school's problem or if that's our problem, but yeah, I still hope that we can go back to face-to-face classes as soon as possible. Another thing that I wanted to mention is on how online classes affected everyone generally. I believe that online classes have affected everyone in a majority. The majority of people got affected in a bad way. In fact, there would be news articles about how students are killing themselves. over modules, and a lot of people are still super insensitive about it. They were like, oh, it's just modules. Back in my day, we had to cross a different country just to get to our school. And in fact, even the head, I don't know if she was the head, but she was someone from the Department of Education, laughed about someone committing suicide. So, first of all, we found out that they were aware of these things. I mean, we always knew they knew these things, but they chose not to do anything about it, which is stupid. But yeah, there was also another thing that was happening during this whole online class sem or school year, where everyone was trying to plead for like an academic freeze, and both of the educational organizations here in the Philippines did not listen to that. They did not want to have an academic freeze. They never said why they didn't want to. Maybe they did, I just didn't read it. But I think academic freeze was never really the best option to handle this kind of situation, because if you think about it, a lot of schools will close down if it doesn't earn enough money. And I know a lot of people are saying schools are no longer a place of learning, but rather it's just a business now. And I get that, but also schools are run by money, and they operate because of that, because of the tuition fees, and they have a lot of people to pay too, the staff, the teachers, and they provide education for you. So if your school closes down, then you have to be forced to really study somewhere else, which not a lot of students would want to happen to, because then you have to adapt to a new system. And that system might not be too different. It could still be similar, but for the most part, it would probably be super different and a lot harder for one student to adjust to or adapt to. And another problem is that a lot of teachers will then be losing their jobs, since if the school closes down, then they have to apply somewhere. But if all schools close down one after the other, then it would even be harder for teachers to really apply for a teacher job. The biggest problem that people or a lot of schools will face if academic freeze were to happen was more or less with the financial security of a school, and the jobs that a lot of teachers will lose, and the students that will lose a lot of schools as well. I'm not quite sure what is the best option, but I keep on hearing about this academic ease thing instead. I still think that was the better solution. So the possible solutions I can think of is probably just a lot of considerations from both teachers and students alike, because students are also trying to adjust to it just as much as teachers are. And I know that there's a lot of students that are going to be left out. And that's still an issue that our country should definitely address. But you got to understand that students are the future of the country. And if you do not care about the students, then there will be no future in this country. So, what is there to look forward to? I don't know. Honestly, right now, I don't see online classes ever being fun. Based on my own experience. But all we can do right now is just to be or feel optimistic towards the future of what could happen, and hope that one day face-to-face classes eventually come back, and we're able to just walk outside and learn in our own classrooms, not in our bedrooms. So yeah, that's about it. That was my experience, my own personal take on this online class trend. I would like to hear your story too, because I think it would be such a cool thing to have a collective effort of people telling their stories, their sides of the story, so that a lot of people would get different perspectives on how other students handle this online class thing. Oh, before I forget, since the break has started, I will try to upload as much as I can. I am planning to upload at least 3 videos a week. If I fail to do that, then there might be things happening in my life that's not related to YouTube. But yeah, the main plan is for me to upload 3 videos a week until our classes start again in January. Thank you for watching the video. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.